What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Cigar Ralphie Show. Let's go with another video here. I want you to see this. Because there's something I wanted to talk about here. This is something that I know a lot about when it comes to law enforcement, use of force and stuff, because I've been in that environment. Not as an inmate. No, I was an officer, in correctional institutions, and I deal in use of force is typically similar to the road officers and to the prison and jail officers. And normally the jails are run by the sheriff's office. So, they have the same guidelines when it comes to use of force, if you guys aren't familiar with it. So let's watch this video real quick, and I want you to see something, and then we're going to talk as the video plays. I'm not going to play the whole video. It's 14 minutes long. Plus, with me talking, it'll be like 30 minutes long. So I'm just going to cut through pieces, but I'm just going to try to put the important pieces, all right? First, here's the story.
Blame for a pattern of excessive force after the release of a disturbing video like this, showing a woman taken down by officers 3 times in one day. They say Myra Martinez was drunk when they arrested her, refusing to leave the gentleman's club where it was her first day on the job. When she resisted, the officer's video shows they wailed on her.
I know the first thing, people are going to go straight to race and stuff like that. This has nothing to do with race, obviously. You got a black officer and a Hispanic woman. And there's a white officer there. But this has nothing to do with race. This has everything to do with professionalism, use of force matrix, and all that good stuff. Also, this is Jacksonville. I just did a story. My last video was on Jacksonville. Damn Jacksonville. But anyway, so what we see here is a woman who's being beaten by the cop, by the officers. You saw him hitting her, and you saw the first video where he was beating her. Now, let's keep on going real quick so we get a little bit more of the story.
Handcuffed at jail, she kicks at an officer and gets hit herself several times.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward to the part where it was her lawyer talking. Basically, her lawyer said, the story was she was drunk. The story was she was drunk. I'm going to fast forward to him. I'll tell you why. The story was she was drunk, and she had just gotten the job at the strip club, or gentleman's club, strip club, same thing. So she went, she got drunk. One of the customers wanted to touch or whatever. She wasn't having it, which it's her right. It doesn't matter if you're a stripper or not. She don't want to be touched. She don't want to be touched. Yeah, you are working in a strip club. You know the nature of the beast. You go there to give lap dances, but in strip clubs, I believe you're not supposed to touch the females. You're not supposed to touch them. That's the rule. They just supposed to dance, and you could put dollars or whatever, money, or throw money at them. And even if they give you a lap dance, you're not supposed to touch them. That's why they have bouncers there. Make sure you don't do anything crazy. But the customer was touching her. She didn't want that. They had given her drink. The company, the strip club, had given her drinks to loosen her up a little. She drank some shots of 100 proof alcohol, whatever it was, probably 151. God, that's gasoline, and to loosen her up. But she was drunk, and they said they might have put drugs in her drink. I can see that happening in a strip club because they want the women to be just whatever, so they make money. They make money off these women. And but she accepted the job, so I mean, I don't know, whatever. But she didn't want to be touched. They would go. The strip club was going on the side of the customer. Of course, they were like, "Hey, whatever." They got into an argument. They threw her out. She didn't want to be. They kicked her out, whatever. And they called the police because I guess, I don't know, she wouldn't leave. Yeah, they actually said she wouldn't leave, whatever. So they called the police. That's when stuff got crazy. Now, she was kicking and screaming and all that good stuff. If you've never been in the use of force, I need to explain how that is. It's something serious. It's something out of this world. It's not like a regular fight. And when we say use of force, that means that there is some kind of law enforcement official there. And use of force normally is normally associated. Is not normally. It's probably 100% associated with law enforcement, because there's a use of force matrix that we have, that law enforcement has to go by. When they get into a tussle, if you may, with people. Now, there's a video that I skipped. I just realized it. Let me show you right here. Let me show you right here. This video. Didn't see this one. All right, let's go.
In full, and she stands there, John, for almost an hour. And she's just standing there. But I can tell that she is being, and it's not that video, it's the intake video. I can tell that she is being very verbally aggressive with the officers. What's she saying during that almost an hour?
She, like some inmates who've maybe had a couple of drinks, they talk about wanting a lawyer, and they talk about what they're going to do to you. We're going to sue you, and you've arrested the wrong girl, and asking why she was arrested. The African-American fellow inmate in there, there's also a video of her being,
Okay. This is intake. This is at the intake center here. Now, at the intake, if you don't know what intake is, good for you. Good for you. Intake is where, when you get arrested, you go to jail. Intake is where they take you in, where they do the processing, all that stuff and everything. If you've never worked in intake, let me tell you something. I've worked intake. Intake is a jungle. It is intake officers. I don't think there's any way an officer could work 20 years, hell, even 10 years straight in intake. Like, they have to rotate them. It is a mental mind, it's just, to use the word, I don't want to curse, but damn, it's a mind fuck. Okay, there's so much going on in intake. So much happens. You get into so many uses of force. Every day you're going to get into something. You got to understand, people coming off the street, they're drugged up, they're drunk, they still feel tough, they got all kinds of drugs in them. And if you've never wrestled with somebody who's drugged up or drunk, then, you really don't know. You don't know. You can sit here and watch all the videos you want and be a video lawyer, sit and make all the comments. But I'm going to tell you, and before I even get there, because I know all of you say, oh, my God, you're a police sympathizer. No, I'm just a realist, and I've been on that side. I've been on the side of the law, okay? I was in handcuffs when I was 17. I didn't go to jail or prison. I was in handcuffs. I was going to. I got in trouble for some disorderly stuff. Me and my cousin were being stupid, but they let us go. So, but that's as far as I went. All the other times I've been in law enforcement. So, but I could tell you that this intake is ridiculous. And when you first get the person, a lot of use of force happens. The people are drugged up and everything. Okay, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying that when the officer beat her, that it was the best way to do it. No way in hell. The other officers standing there while he beats her, that was wrong also. That was very wrong. There is a use of force matrix. There's levels that we got to take. Unfortunately, police are not RoboCops. They're not T-1000s. They're not robots. They're they're not built by Cyberdyne Systems or nothing like that. They're humans, and yes, they are trained for use of force. They are trained to be professional. But at times, when things get hectic, when that human side that everybody has, that because there's people. If this was two civilians that were fighting, and a lot of you would say, man, I'll beat her ass. But since he's got a uniform on, all of a sudden it's unjustified, it's bad, it's everything. But yes, this particular one is bad because he went a little overboard. And the reason I say it's bad is as officers, we police each other. I have a lot of I'm gonna point the finger a lot at his fellow officers for not, running up and be like, oh, hold on, we got it, let's help him out, because what happened was she was probably like making a beeline with her attitude towards the black officer. Well, you can't see him; he's being covered by the gentleman in handcuffs, but. The black, she was plotting the whole time. He's the one that was hitting her. She was plotting. Her attitude was beelining towards him. So he was probably, taking, 80% of all her brutality, all her insults and all this. And he's human. He's going to react. It gets to you. You try to be as professional as possible, but it gets to you just like anybody else. And he lost it. Now his fellow officers should have stepped in to be able to take, to split all that negative energy in between all of them, so they can act professionally and think rationally, and do what they're trained to do, which is use the minimum force necessary to take her down. She was being belligerent the whole time. She did not want to be kicked out. She got kicked out. She was drunk, so there was a lot of factors there to make her belligerent. You know what I'm saying? That she put herself in that situation. The customer at the strip club tried to touch her. She didn't want to, and that's her right to not be touched. She should not be touched if she doesn't want to be. Doesn't matter if you're a stripper or not. But after that, she got kicked out. She was asked to leave. They said they didn't give her purse and everything, which is probably why she stayed trying to fight. But they asked her to leave. I'm sure the cops were like, "Oh, let's get her purse, let's give her." But then she got all crazy, so they took her down. You saw she kicked the officer. It's hard as a human being to just take a kick, even though you're trained for use of force and you use the minimum. You get kicked and be called, oh, fuck you and all this and whatever she said to them. It's hard, okay. A lot of you think you're God's gift to self-control, but you're not. It's very hard. It's very hard, and the officers have to do this every day. They're the ones who chose to do the job that you wouldn't do. So don't. I'm not sympathizing with this particular situation. Again, 100% of it is not good. I don't agree with him beating her like that. But they could have taken her down differently, and things like that. She's probably gonna soon win. Because maybe, I don't know, he ended up getting fired right away. Like the next day he was gone. So and when she was you saw the part where she had to strip, where she was with the female officer. The reason that happens is everyone who goes in has to go through a strip search. When you get arrested, you go through a strip search. They have to take any rings, any piercings you have, you take them off. You cannot keep your piercings in jail or prison. So they were asking her to take her nose ring off and everything. She didn't want to take it off. If you don't take it off, we're going to get it off of you. We're going to get it off. You have to. That's the rule. You cannot keep the piercings. So it goes in your property and you get it when you get released. She did not want to comply. Apparently, she was cursing and being belligerent to the officer. The officer wanted to take the ring off. She obviously bucked right away. That's why you saw it goes from 0 to 100 like this in there in intake. 0 to 100 like this. You don't have time to sit back like we do to watch the video and be like, well, I would have done this. She should have done this. We don't have that time of reaction. We can rewind the video. And if you notice, we can rewind the video and say, oh, well, you know what? I probably would have done. You don't have that time in intake. Intake is like this, 0 to 100, real quick. All right. And so that officer, went and grabbed her. Oh, my God. You know what I'm saying? It looks bad. There's no way to make a use of force look real good. All you could do is which is why they always film it. There's video cameras everywhere inside of the jails and the prisons. Because that's the only way we can be like, look, man, this is why I did this. I know it looks bad, but this is why I did it. And you saw she was belligerent the whole time. I've seen most of the people that come in, a lot, some aren't, a lot aren't, but There's a lot that come in drugged up, drunk, and everything. I've seen when the strippers get arrested. I've been there when strippers get arrested and they're upset. I've been there when a lot of people that are drugged up or drunk get arrested. They're upset. Sometimes we have to help the officer get them out of the vehicle, because it was crazy. They're just crazy, and it takes 5 people. Okay, as far as use of force, I remember getting into a use of force with a older gentleman that was in my dorm. Older, this guy was, I don't know, in his 50s, 60s, maybe, I don't know. And I always tell the story. He got this particular use of force. He was mad at, I don't know what it is. His adrenaline was up all the way. He was upset at this other inmate who said something to him. And he went to rush him, and it was me and 4 other men. Mind you, I'm 200. At the time, I was like 210, 215. Between all the officers, we probably had, 2, 4, 6, 800 pounds on this guy. It was 4 of us, 4 or 5 of us. I don't remember, 800, 850, 900 pounds. I don't know. All of us were 200 at least. And we were on him, and this guy was still moving us around. We were still, nobody punched him or anything, but we would just, detain him, and he was still throwing us around. We got to the floor, we fell. There was equipment, we had handcuffs fell, spray fell. It was just crazy, and because of that, that's where I learned. Oh my God, this is not easy. It's not, on the videos, you can sit back and look at it and be like, oh, this is. But it's not easy. Okay. So let's watch what this NYPD officer said. He's a retired officer, and he gave his comments.
This is the video right here. Watch this. Everybody watch this. Okay, he puts her back in her place. She kicks, and then he hits.
That was excessive. These guys should have came in and immediately.
She'll slump down eventually. Obviously, I don't have the advantage of seeing the monitor, but she'll slump down, and they will leave her there, slumped down, unconscious, not moving for 15 minutes, and then an ambulance will come up, and the very same officer that hit her tells the ambulance to go away, that he refuses her medical care.
All right, with us, watching this video along with all of us is Darren Porcher. You are a retired NYPD lieutenant. First of all, I want to ask you, this officer was fired from one day to the next.
Right.
Was that right? Should he have been afforded administrative leave to hear? I mean, they did interview him, but was it right to fire him from one day to the next? Can you do that?
Well, it's really dependent upon the contractual agreement within that union that department has. Was this an at-will termination? This was the sheriff's department. Generally speaking, the sheriff's department have different provisions in hiring than the municipal police departments, I give you an example, it's the NYPD, for example. So at this stage, it's really difficult to tell. But one thing that's consistent, oftentimes, when you see officers that commit acts such as felonies, they're terminated immediately. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say that this was a felony, but this was a very serious assault that occurred.
When you have someone in custody that is kicking, allegedly biting or spitting, verbally aggressive, I guess you just have to take that. But what should the officer have done in these circumstances?
Well, the first thing we need to remember is the police officer should be the avid professional. And being the avid professionals, one of the things that you want to exercise is your usage of the minimum use of force necessary. You have an assortment of non-lethal means that you can use on an individual, such as pepper spray, things to that effect, or even a taser in a drive-stun mode for that matter. That's when you quote-unquote see the electricity that just launches into a person and it temporarily disables the person. I think that would have been the better course of action in restraining this particular individual as opposed to a series of punches, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree with him. I think it would have been better to taser or spray her. I would have sprayed the hell out of her, emptied the can on her. But, because, she was kicking, screaming. She could have done damage too. She had heels on, whatever. So, there's less lethal. Punching, it's just overboard. I totally agree with that. But again, it's a when it comes to use of force, law enforcement, people who are doing things, it's very tricky, man. It's very tricky, and I know you're sitting there saying, "No, it's not tricky. You can talk anybody down." No, you cannot. Obviously, you have not been through anything if you think you can talk everybody down. We have something called CIT, critical intervention. If something happens, yes, we learn to speak. We try to talk. You can, in most cases, talk. In a lot of cases, you can't. If they're drugged up, if there is okay. Let me correct myself. Let me back up. If there is an influencer, as far what's the word I'm looking for? Inhibitor or fluencer. I'm trying to sound too smart and it's making me look stupid. If there's something that is blocking rational thought, like any drugs, alcohol, you cannot talk someone down. It's hard. It is almost impossible. The drugs or the alcohol will take over, and you cannot talk them down. And force is then necessary. You know what I mean? You can't talk them down. You just can't. So you got to be aware of that too. Was the person drunk, whatever? Also, sometimes adrenaline, it's something that we all just have in us, and it happens, can be something, a very big factor. If this person's adrenaline is over, like, through the roof, it's hard. It's hard to talk them down. It's hard to take them down. You try to wrestle with somebody whose adrenaline is higher than yours, they're probably going to kick your butt because, adrenaline plays a big factor. They're superhuman now. That's why the officer's adrenaline is not at 100, because you gotta understand the officer's adrenaline. He's got other factors to think about. I've got a belt full of stuff that I cannot let this person take. I've got other people watching me. You know what I mean? I've got to protect other people. I've got to protect my fellow officer if he's there with me. I have to know what to do. I've got a use of force matrix that's in my head. There's other factors. The person who he's trying to take down, their only thought is, I'm taking this officer down as I'm not getting caught. They're 100% focused on that. They're getting tunnel vision. That's all. All their energy is on that. Is I'm not being taken down, and that's it. Which is why they're so strong, because all their energy goes to that. To not being taken down. No, I'm not going to jail. No, whatever. This is, I'm gonna beat this officer up. Where the officer has hundreds of things to think of. This particular case, the officer lost it. I think he deviated from a lot, his training, especially at the point where he was already at intake, and he had all the other officers were there. It's more, it's more control. You have more officers. There's no need for you to go crazy over there. Yeah, she walked up to him, which she shouldn't have. She should have just stayed right where she was at. Look, let me give you a word of advice. You ever get stopped by officer question, just do whatever he asks you to do. That is legal. If he's asking you some illegal stuff, no, then but and he, whatever he asks you, hey, can you put your hands on the steering wheel? Show me your license. Yes, sir, I have it, or I don't have it. I'll step out of the car. Yes, don't start trying to utter your rights and stuff like that, and get belligerent, because that's when things happen, But let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I know this video got very long. I didn't want it to be long, but it did. All right, and don't forget to follow me on social media, man. And I will see you on the next smoke.